Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Again, we are here in the Ramzan transmission of Toronto 360 TV, the program Sirat-e-Mustaqim. As we mentioned you earlier that this Sirat-e-Mustaqim program, we are bringing some of our reverts Muslims and their stories to you. And they are some of the concerns they want to see in the Muslim community and the challenges what they are facing within this society after when they become the Muslims. So our first guest is Jeremiah Huron Musa in our studio, and inshallah ta'ala we will listen his story of that how he reverted to the Islam. Thank you, Jeremiah, for coming to the Toronto 360 TV. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
So Jeremiah, our audience want to listen. What is your story? How you motivate to become a Muslim, right? There are something that motivate you to bringing to this religion, right? Islam.
Yeah.
And although they are we are in the minority still. Islam is not yet very popular religion in this society, but it's still, we see that a lot of people are reverting every year. So please tell your beautiful story to our audience.
Yeah, absolutely. So before I found Islam, since I was very young, I was always very interested in what is the truth about life, what's the meaning and purpose. And I even remember when I went to high school, I wondered how come we didn't have like a philosophy course, and they had all the other courses, but nothing that talked about what is the actual purpose for being alive. And so, in my time, I went here and there reading different philosophies and different religious texts and things, and everything from Buddhism to Taoism to Zoroastrianism to, Christianity, Judaism, and all the different flavors, I guess you might call it. And, and I, never really, I kind of used a mixed philosophy until I found Islam to get me through. And, but I was always very fascinated in the story of Jesus, peace be upon him. And, I spent a lot more rigorous time trying to figure out what was his actual true story, because I always knew that he couldn't have actually been God, and I knew that from my core, but then, it has such a big following, so to understand what was actually what he said, because, historically you can tell that he must have existed because of how much evidence there is to say that he must have been on earth, and that you never find anything about him saying that that he was disingenuous or anything. And so I spent a lot of time, I read the Gnostic Gospels, the Nag Hammadi Scrolls, the Dead Sea Scrolls. I read the Gnostic Gospels quite a bit, and even the actual Bible. And then I tried to find how could you authenticate them, and came across a lot of discrepancies along the way, like what they call the early Pauline church that was set by Paul, and versus the actual minority of the Christians actually practicing real monotheism or Tawheed. And basically, it was really hard to find where is the actual evidence there, because there's obviously a problem with Paul's version of Christianity versus some of the other earlier sources. So and then how it got changed along the way through King Henry VIII and different other figures along the way.
So can I ask you, Jeremiah, one question as you are talking about that
Yeah.
one, that the concept of God, right? Definitely in all the religion there is a concept of God, even in the Christianity,
Yeah.
that the soul and there are three things together. They are called tritiny. What do you call that one, right?
Yeah.
So that's concept. So that's you think that's one of the reason many Christians actually think about that there's a concept of God, is that God is all alone and has no partner. That's the Islams, and the Muslims say these beautiful things, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the whole Quran is very much strict, and again all the prophets saying that God is all alone and has no partner, right? Ala kulli shayin qadir, la ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, right? So all those things are there. So That's one of the attraction toward the many Christians, is that they want to find out the reality of God.
Yeah, anybody who seems to find a way to break free, usually that one concept clears up everything for them. Like, you know, most Christians, they have a hard time breaking free, I find, in my opinion, because, you know, their pastor, their leader is very, you know, influential and nice man, and tells them with enthusiasm that it's the truth, or their parents practiced it, and they respect their parents, or, you know, or they've already just developed their own contention or convictions in it. But what I find that brings them out of it is if they ever think about like the one versus the three, and definitely, yeah, that's one.
So how you yourself find in the Islam, right? Because there is a point, right, where you think that no, I find the Islam is the true religion and I have to accept this. What is that moment really?
That's actually a very interesting thing to share, because I, like I said, I looked really hard for what is the true story of Jesus, and even Moses alayhi salam, peace be upon them both. I really looked rigorously, and for some odd reason I never came across Islam. There seems to be like a fog in the West that covers, you know, finding what is Islam, and people don't really know enough about it. Like, the biggest mystery is how I searched so hard to figure out the Jesus mystery. Who is he really? And I searched libraries and asked different people and everything, and I somehow never came across Islam. So one time I was with a friend, and he was making dhikr, making remembrance of Allah, and I'd known him for quite some time, and I never knew he was Muslim, and I asked him what he's doing, and he said, oh, I'm just, you know, making remembrance. He said dhikr, and I asked him what dhikr is, and he said making statements of a remembrance to Allah. And then that led me to ask more questions, and eventually I took the Quran and realized, wow, Jesus is in here, Moses, peace be upon him, and there's more to the story. And I found the first two chapters very compelling. First off, what Al-Fatiha tells you to claim, and that right in the beginning of Al-Baqarah, it tells you who this book is for right from the get-go, and tells you a little bit about the difference between people who believe and don't believe. And I also really love Moses alayhi salam, so I was very taken by his story being the first thing they talk about in it. And so it's between that and how sincere and compelling the prayer is, like how much what you say in the prayer and the intention of the prayer is very serious, and that I'd never found ever a more blatant concept of monotheism. And I looked at all the other ones, there's always something attached, like fire, or three entities, or a million entities, or God has sons who has sons who has sons, and, you know, there's, you know.
So one of the questions is definitely, I will ask tomorrow to you some questions that I have in my mind. I think is a beautiful story. We'll continue with the story, with a different aspect of your stories, and inshallah another guest as well. And inshallah we'll come back again on the second Ramzan, and we'll talk to you. Thank you very much for coming to the Toronto 360 TV.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. Jazakallah khair.
So you are listening the beautiful story of Jeremiah Huron Musa, and he's our reverse brother. And inshallah tomorrow we will ask him that what's he's working nowadays, and there more about his story, that is there any Muslims who can help him to come to the mosque? Is there any things that really attract by the Muslim community or the people around them? Is there anybody in the Muslim community who really help him out? So inshallah, don't go tomorrow. The same time we'll come back to you, and inshallah we have another episode of Sirat Mustaqim in Rahmat-e Ramzan program. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.